Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another edition of The Democratic View. My name is Phyllis Italiano, and I am the hostess. And with me today, I have a very special man, and a very tall man, I might add. And his name is Peter Van Scoyoc, and he is one of our East Hampton Town Board members, and has been there for 2 years and a couple of months. Correct?
Thank you. Yes, Phyllis, thanks for having me on the show again.
You know, I don't know if people know that every once in a while I drive up in, I guess it's the Northwest, and I see your family name on Van Scoyoc Path. Do you want to tell people about how your family was here long ago?
Well, it's ground that we've covered before, various press articles or whatever, but there is a tie with the family going back in Northwest to the original settlement in Northwest in the 1750s, and some of that original family farm is where I live currently. So that's a really great connection. You know, it just shows the breadth and depth of our history here on the East End, and you know, there are a number of families that predate my family here that are still here, including some of our indigenous peoples to trace back to the Montauk tribes. So,
wow.
So, you know, my family are relative newcomers,
Yeah.
as it were. But it's a neat connection, and I do appreciate that place.
Well, I appreciate it too, because I always wish that I had been here long ago. Well, I mean, not so long ago that I would be dead, but long enough to have really been a part of what this real rural character of the town was long ago. I experienced it on the North Fork as a child, but not on the South Fork.
Well, I recommend a visit to the Long Island collection in the East Hampton Library, because you can certainly go back to those days. We have such a great continuity of records, historical records, old photographs, maps, and really I think if you have an opportunity to delve into that history and sort of relive it in a way, due to the fact that we've such a rich cultural heritage and we've been able to preserve it.
So now that you are on a town board that began in January with a new leader and 2 new members, we have all noticed a rather lovely change in the congeniality that exists between all of you. I actually hear laughter, and it's refreshing.
Well, I think there's a new spirit of cooperation among board members, and we're all working towards solving the many issues and problems that, you know, are in the town. A number of things had not been moved forward and resolved, and I think we're at a place where the people really want those issues to be dealt with, and there's been a lot of support for that. And I think that if you look at the people who were chosen by the electorate to serve, that you'll find that they all have backgrounds that lead towards building consensus and cooperation, you know, with the end goal being, you know, serving the people and dealing with the issues of the day.
If you were to put into just a little couple of sentences maybe, what would you think is your most important goal as a board member?
I think really for me it's to serve the people of East Hampton, and when I say that I mean all the people. We have many varied interests and issues, and I see my role as being an advocate for the population, you know, to help preserve our great quality of life, our historical and cultural heritage, and to move us forward in a way that embraces new ideas without losing sight of where we've been and what we want to keep and protect. So I think that's really the challenge and the goal.
It seems as though there are so many issues that are before you right now. I mean, I watched the last work session, and I think there were quite a few public hearings that came out of that particular meeting. I know you've been working with the people in Montauk on the taxi situation, and then there was also the big box stores type of thing that is also up, and to me, what I most want to see is, I want to see Nassau County not come here. I want to see us maintain the quality of life that we have. I want to be able to look out over open vistas and know that the water that I drink will be of the quality that it is right now, which I know is a very important issue, water quality, since water is the new gold in the world. You know, I have family in California, and I know what they're going through with water there. And I'm very interested in the fact that Pio Lombardo, a very learned person, was hired to do this in-depth research on our water. And I know he's supposed to come back again, am I correct?
Yes. Lombardo Associates was hired to help us with our wastewater management study. They've been inventorying and going through town records and identifying areas that are problematic in terms of nutrient loading to our surface waters, looking at watersheds, looking at location of outdated septic systems and how we can improve our water quality. Most of our surface waters, which our finfish and shellfish depend upon, and for recreational purposes, we all want clean water to paddleboard in, kayak, boat, fish, clam, sail, all those activities that we love. I know you're a swimmer, so
you bet
you're out there a couple times a day doing laps in the bay.
Listen, I keep driving by the bay and looking at 3 Mile Harbor, and I say to it, open my window, and I scream out, warm up, because
it's going to be a while this year.
I'm dying to get back
that
into
water is plenty cold still.
Into that bay, which I absolutely adore.
But we live on an island. We're surrounded by water. We need water, clean water to drink. We have a sole source aquifer. We get our water to drink from underground. We have to be very careful about how we use the land above it. It's really critical. And without clean water, our property values go down. Our health can be adversely affected.
Right.
And we are essentially a tourist community. It drives our economy. People who come here, people who have second homes, people who day trip, visit our hotels, they come out here because of the rural character that we've been able to maintain. And I can't tell you how many people who've come to me from further west, and in talking with them, they say, East Hampton looks like my hamlet did when I was a kid, and now it's just all, commercial development and
concrete
subdivisions, and we don't have any open space anymore, and please don't let that happen to East Hampton. I get as much interest from outsiders as I do from people who've lived here for generations, families that have lived for generations here. So, I think it's of vital importance that we recognize what our greatest assets are and that we protect them. And there's going to be a lot of pressure to do things the way they've been done outside of town, further west and in cities and other areas. And, that being everything from infrastructure and utility companies to, what have you. So we need to, keep our eyes wide open and take the steps necessary to make sure that we remain unique and these attributes are passed on.
Well, I just couldn't agree with you more, because I have, when you look at what is west of us and you see that it is concrete from one end of the Nassau County to the other, and you know that what happens to that water when it rains, or the snow that melts, it's picking up all of the junk that cars give off, and all of the debris, and that wastewater has almost nowhere to go, and it's not good for the water that we need to
Well,
drink.
we're fortunate that we still have a very high quality
Yes.
water, both underground and surface waters. And, I think we're fortunate that we can see the impacts and the results of those impacts further west, and, hopefully we can stay ahead of those issues and, make sure that our ecosystems aren't compromised, our drinking water's not compromised. And
We all want to go out and clam and fish, we all
yeah,
want.
you're talking about the water warming up. You want to go swimming, I want to go fishing, so the fish aren't going to come until it gets a little warmer.
One of I'm waiting for Dr. Lombardo to come back and talk about septic systems, because I know that I have something in my backyard. My house is 1967. I have no idea what it is, but I would certainly, I'm waiting to upgrade it, but I'm waiting until I know what to upgrade to, and then I will be able, because I know some people who have put in new systems, but I know they're not new enough. I know
Well, currently, Suffolk County Health Department basically only approves for residential properties septic tank and leaching pools. And fortunately, there's beginning to be more of a movement towards looking at other alternative systems, and this is happening at the county level.
Yes.
As well as the town level, because there's a recognition that nutrient loading, particularly nitrogen, has impacts on our drinking water, but it has very profound impacts when it leaches into the marine environment.
Yes.
Creating harmful algal blooms within our harbors, shellfish closures. So, I expect that the county will come through with new standards that will allow some of these new, more progressive alternative systems to be used on residential properties. But certainly any septic system that is antiquated and is a single leaching pool is not a good system at this point. And if it's that old, there is also potential for it collapsing in your yard. So you should find out where it is.
That hasn't happened yet.
Okay.
Oh, I know where it is.
Okay,
You can
good.
see by the vegetation above it.
Yeah, it's a little greener. The grass is
sure.
a little greener. Okay.
And you know where I know
Yeah.
where it is. What it is what I'm not sure of.
Yeah.
But I know that Steve Bologna, county executive, has made that his priority, the water.
Well, you bring up a good point. A lot of people don't even know that they, where their waste goes.
I know.
Some people think, because they lived further west and maybe moved here, just assumed that there was a sewer system. They have no idea that they have a leaching pool in their backyard. And so it's something to become acquainted with, even though it maybe
Well,
isn't
it's amazing what people don't know, because they once did a little clip on LTV asking people where they got their water from. And you'd be surprised how many people said, I turn on the faucet, or, they had no idea that it comes from under their feet. And that's an amazing thing. And even our kids, I'm not sure, are really aware of what they need to do to maintain their environment, and how they should be thinking about the future, even with what you throw into a sink, as far, and what kind of products you use, and how we need to begin to think about things like that.
Well, you're absolutely right, and I think it's good to have the focus on where our water comes from, because I think when people really make the connection between how the property above is being used and how it potentially affects their drinking water, that you'll see a little bit more interest and a little more change in terms of what they do, even with their lawns. They are probably going to be less inclined to put herbicides and pesticides on their lawn if that's going to end up in their well water. So, all these efforts will help, I think, in protecting our groundwater moving forward, improving our septic systems, and how we use the land.
Well, I always say about lawns, who cares? I mean, good God, it's just not the most important thing in the world. What's more important is that we give to the future of our area and the people who are going to, like I have 2 grandchildren, and I think all the time about them. Well, that's why I have solar panels. And speaking of solar panels, that's another initiative that has come up with your new organization there. And how is that coming?
That's coming along very well. We recommended to LIPA several firms to provide alternative energy. And so both solar at landfill sites and the airport, and as well as peaker plants, which would provide additional power when needed in other locations in town. Currently, part of the grid now is, in order to meet the summer demand, we have some generation stations, small, diesel-powered electric plants on the South Fork. There's one on County Road 39. There's one in Buell Lane, East Hampton, near 114. There's one in Montauk down on Industrial Road, and these are internal combustion engines that run constantly. And if you drive down Long Lane and look to the southwest, you'll see a plume of diesel smoke coming from that generation station. So,
Really?
Yes, they were originally installed just to meet the summer demand, but often now, because the grid is becoming antiquated, they run most of the year, if not all year. So,
Wow.
if we start using more solar energy in residential homes even, and start conserving energy, we won't need to have these additional generation plants and these additional power lines brought out here. That's something that people need to keep in mind.
I wish more people, as a matter of fact, I was driving around Northwest in one of my bits of campaigning type of thing, and I was surprised that I saw very few solar panels. And even in my own neighborhood, I only know of one other person who has solar panels in the Springs. But I don't understand why more people don't try to do it. Now, one of the reasons I went with the company I went with, and I interviewed 4, was because they were the group that told me I could rent them, that I didn't have to buy them. Mm-hmm. And I did ultimately buy them, but the fact that they were offering that, I really liked. And I have said to people, you don't have to buy them. You can just rent them. You can find out about it. And I see lots of roofs all around. Mm-hmm. That could be putting power into the grid, and I wish that would be more something that people would be interested in doing.
Yeah. Well, 2 years ago, I did get a solar roof on the police substation in Montauk, along with the help of our housing development.
Good.
And we have solar on the Bluff Road building. So we have an opportunity, I think, to have sites like the landfills, which are already cleared and disturbed sites, covered with solar panels. One of the problems in Northwest is that it's generally fairly wooded, and there are some clearing restrictions in some of the areas due to the water overlay district, water recharge overlay district, so solar may not work in every location.
May not work
But-
in every location, but when they come to your house, they do a study, and they go on your roof, and they can say, well, you have a tree here and a tree there and a tree there. I had to take down 3 trees in order to be able to have my roofs completely in the sun.
Right.
And it really wasn't so bad. It was less than, because a lot of people have said that to me. Well, I got trees around. Well, I had trees around too, but it turned out I only had to take down 3 of them.
Right, so that worked out for you.
You know, so it wasn't so bad. But because they go up there and they take pictures and stuff, they even take it from the sky, you know. I don't know how, but they do, you know, and you get to see how much shade you have on your roof. But I do hope that people are going to be more into doing that kind of thing so that we can keep up the...
Right. Well, there are currently still incentives and tax breaks, tax credits in
Yes.
place,
Yes.
which will, sunset in the not-so-distant future. So if you're thinking about adding solar to your roof, now would be a good time to do it.
Yes, as a matter of fact, I got from LIPA. LIPA contributed to my, I don't know what PSEG would do, but LIPA did contribute to the cost of my solar panels because I put them in last October.
Well, they
actually.
recognize that, offsetting the demand with supplying solar means that they won't have to expend a lot of money on building new power plants. So it's cheaper to get people to incentivize people to put the solar on their roofs than it is to build new plants.
And you get a
So-
federal tax break.
And it's zero emissions, so it's a good thing.
Yeah, I couldn't recommend it more for people to do things like that. I think there's a lot of things that people have to do to work with the town. I'm hoping that we will also be able to see some code enforcement in the Springs, which is a big issue with Springs people.
I know there are a number of issues in Springs regarding overcrowded housing, the commercialization of residential properties, and those issues have been simmering and boiling for
Yes.
a number of years now. And currently we're looking at legislative changes that will help effectuate,
Right.
helping to solve those problems anyway.
Yeah, well, you've only been in
don't-
office 3 months
I don't-
with this new group. So,
Yeah.
I mean, we do have to give you a little time
Well,
to sort through some of
I
this stuff.
certainly understand if people are impatient and why they would be.
Yeah.
And so, I don't really feel like we don't have a lot of time to take these issues on. The honeymoon's over.
Well, the honeymoon may be over, but the issues are
And,
very complex. There are no simple...
Well, that's true, and that's the one thing that I do find time and again is when you come up with an idea to solve a problem and you think this is a simple solution to the problem, and the more you look into the problem, the more you realize just how complex it is and why what would seem to be an obvious answer won't work either from a legal standpoint or what have you. And so it becomes a little more challenging. So I tend to think when people say it's a no-brainer, it's a no-brainer means they haven't thought all through all the implications of everything. Because, and I'm as guilty of that as anyone, and I'll give you an example with taxis. We have no ability to regulate taxis who are coming from a point outside the municipality and dropping off, or picking up within the municipality and taking to a point outside the municipality. And the municipality could be from Montauk to East Hampton Village, which is a separate municipality. So even though we might require a taxi business permit and a taxi license, if they are in fact going from out of town to town dropping off or vice versa, we don't have the ability to regulate them. I thought it'd be very simple. Anybody who doesn't have a taxi sticker, you just simply write them up. Well, it's not that simple. And it's just one small example of, what you might run into, so.
It takes a lot of patience to be in your shoes or in the shoes of all of those people.
I don't recommend this position for somebody who doesn't have patience.
You know what? I remember when I asked you once on the website, it said, Peter Van Scoyoc, why I am running, and I asked you to change it and bring it up to date, and you said, should I put on it, why did I run? Why did I run? Because, holy mackerel, what a complex job you have. It is really.
Well, I have to say, it really is a very rewarding job.
Yes.
And, I consider it an honor to be chosen to serve the people of East Hampton. That is, I think, the greatest honor bestowed upon me so far.
That's why you're so good at it, because you look at it as an honor. It's like being a teacher. It's a very difficult job when you're in that classroom, but it's also extremely rewarding.
And I have my good days and I have my bad days, but on balance, I think it's been a very interesting job. It's a very challenging job, and I was never one who enjoyed a repetitive job, no matter what it was, really.
I know what you're talking about.
I like spontaneity, I like change of pace, and this job is full of new things coming at you from all directions. And
you like to be able to say, oh my God, it's 3 o'clock.
Lots of interesting surprises and interesting people. We are just surrounded by such interesting people.
And so many people are so devoted to working hard for the town. It amazes me how many people put aside their own lives to work on some particular, these committees that have sprung up are just really fantastic.
And that goes just beyond, working on those kind of town issues. The amount of volunteerism and charity within the town is really amazing. And I got to make a fool of myself recently on behalf of a charity.
Yes, Mr. Amagansett, we read about you in the Star and saw you in your beautiful costume.
That was a lot of fun, and it was for a great cause. The Don Sharkey Fund contributes a lot of money annually to student scholarships, medical bills, helping locals with things that come up. So.
Well, we look forward to seeing you again when you'll be running the next time.
Thanks for having me on the show again, Phyllis.